Yeah. Okay. So what I'll do, I'll first tell you for the continuity, it's 1 week. So we will see what he has said in the previous para, and then we will come back to the para that we have to read. Okay. So um, I'm reading out the summary of what he has said in the previous para. First of all, what is the chapter? The chapter is what is reality and what is unreality. Because you have a big spiritual experience when you go to the self, you see that the physical world is not as real as you thought it to be. And there also there are grades. There are people who say it's absolute illusion. Others who say it's like a photograph, no reality, just images. And others, they say that no, it is half real and half unreal. So there are many theories even there. Okay? But basically, it is without substance and without any real purpose and meaning, and the world appears to be only mechanical energy. So, he has said he is examining from the physical point of view how man sees through his physical senses. Then he goes to the vital. He will. That's what he will describe in this paragraph, and then we go on to the mental. At each level, there is a reality and an unreality, physically, vital, and mental, and even spiritual. So he is going systematically. He has gone first in the physical. Now he is going to the summary. I am going to read what you. Beyond physical mind, man has a vital mind which is not satisfied with the present actual condition. It deals in possibilities. When you have a vital mind, you deal in possibilities. You have imagination. That is something that the animal doesn't have. The animal is using only senses to react to the physical world. But when man comes in the vital mind, okay, the vital physical mind, vital mind. So he has start imagination. He is not satisfied with what he has got, but he wants more. So it deals in possibilities, wants novelty and adventure, desires always more and more. If vital mind were not present in man, he would be like the animal, satisfied with the status quo, living life mechanically without change. Then the vital mind seeks, hunts, wants satisfaction, self exceeding. To add further unrest to the situation comes in the thinking mind that inquires, questions, builds, unbuilds, erects systems only to dismantle them later on. This affirmation of systems and rejection of them goes on ad infinitum because of the origin of the ignorance. So, this is what he said in the previous paragraph. Okay, so now we come to at a certain point of this constant unrest. What happened? We'll read. So, so one of you has to read at a certain point of this constant unrest. There is unrest at the physical
I'm
level.
reading that.
Yes, please do that. At a certain point.
At a certain At a certain point of this constant unrest and travail, even the physical mind loses its conviction of objective certitude and enters into an agnosticism which questions all its own standards of life and knowledge, doubts whether all this is real, or else whether all, even if real, is not futile. The vital mind, baffled by life and frustrated or else dissatisfied with all its satisfactions, overtaken by a deep disgust and disappointment, finds that all is vanity and vexation of spirit, and is ready to reject life and existence as an unreality, all that it hunted after as an illusion, Maya. The thinking mind, unbuilding all its affirmations, discovers that all are mere mental constructions and there is no reality in them, or or else that the one or else the one only reality is something beyond this existence, something that has not been made or constructed, something absolute and eternal. All that is relative, all that is of time is a dream, a hallucination, or a vast delirium, an immense cosmic illusion, a delusive figure of apparent existence. The principle of negation prevails over the principle of affirmation and becomes universal and absolute. Thence arise the great world negating religions and philosophies. Thence too a recoil of the life motive from itself and a seeking after a life elsewhere, flawless and eternal, or a will to annul life itself in an immobile reality or an original non existence. In India, the philosophy of world negation has been given formulations of supreme power and value by two of the greatest of our thinkers, Buddha and Shankara. There have been intermediate or later in time other philosophies of considerable importance, some of them widely accepted, formulated with much acumen of thought by men of genius and spiritual insight, which disputed with more or less force and success the conclusions of these two great metaphysical systems. But none has been put forward with an equal force of presentation or drive of personality, or had a similar massive effect. The spirit of these two remarkable spiritual philosophies, for Shankara in the historical process of India's philosophical mind completes and replaces Buddha, has weight with a tremendous power on a thought, religion, and general mental health. Everywhere broods its mighty shadow. Everywhere is the impress of the three great formulas, the chain of karma, escape from the greed of rebirth, Maya. It is necessary, therefore, to look afresh at the idea behind the negation of cosmic existence and to consider, however briefly, what is the value of its main formulations or suggestions, on what reality they stand, how far they are imperative to the reason or to experience. For the present, it will be enough to throw a regard on the principal ideas which are grouped around the conception of the great cosmic illusion mind, and to set against them those that are proper to our present kind of thought and notion. For both proceed from the conception of the one reality, but one line leads to a universal illusionism, the other to a universal realism, an unreal or real unreal universe reposing on a transcendent reality, or a real universe reposing on a reality at once universal and transcendent or absolute.
Beautiful. He has summed up the whole philosophical drama in India. We'll have a look at what he's saying. We'll do two things. First of all, we will, in brief, in summary, we will see what he's saying. Then we go into detail. But the details are very interesting. Just 1 second. Okay, seeing that, oh, it is here. Just 1 second, I've got it. Yeah. Yes. So, what he is saying in this para is like this, in short. Okay, 1 second. Delete. Just 1 second. Yeah. So, delete, and I come here, and I press enter. What he's saying is, so he has told you earlier that the physical mind also can doubt what is real and what is not real. Sometimes you, in night, you see things which you see afterwards, oh, I made a mistake. Okay, so there are so many things. In the vital mind also there is dissatisfaction and want something that doesn't exist. And mind comes in and even makes the problem even worse. So at all the three levels, there is reality and there is unreality. In this period of doubt and unrest, a point is reached where the physical mind loses its certainty of the sole reality of matter. Even if real, life seems to be futile and purposeless. Even in these two phrases, he has said something so interesting. He said, The physical mind loses its certainty of the sole reality of matter. What is even science telling you? Science tells you that the solidity that you see is nothing, it is not solid at all. Okay? It's only energy, and energy is not matter. It takes a form of matter, but it is energy. Basically, it is energy. And not only energy, what is interesting even scientifically is that if you go down to the atomic level, the distance between the electron and the nucleus is very small at that level. But if you blow it up to our proportion in man, the distance between the nucleus and the electron will be something like the sun and the earth. So 99% empty space. So even science is telling you that. And next he comes to the next way. Even if it is real, life seems to be futile and purposeless. The materially, which is already discussed, and even the ascetic says that it's meaningless existence. And even the existentialist also says the same thing. This is the condition of the world. We can do nothing about it. There's no purpose to it. It's just plain, pure existence. So, now he continues, just one second. Yeah. Then the vital mind too, not finding the satisfaction it sought, okay, all our desires, very often they don't give us satisfaction because you can't satisfy them. Not finding the satisfaction it sought, turns away from life in disgust and unhappiness and disappointment. This is the turning of the ascetic who is not successful in the world, and he feels that he can't succeed in the world. He goes away. There is a negative approach. There is also a positive approach which he discusses elsewhere. Then comes the thinking mind and finds that all is really nothing but a construction of the mind, and that reality is beyond the mental range. All is Maya, negation of everything, holds the field. Negation of everything holds the field against affirmation very firmly. So this is the experience of the self. Not when you are in the cosmic consciousness, but when you are in the self-mind, you see the physical world as unreal. There arise the great world-negating philosophies of Shankara and Buddha. So, what are the great world-negative philosophies? Buddhism, Mayavada, and Mayavada is attributed to Shankara, but he is a very complex philosophy, and he is very often misinterpreted. Okay. And also Jainism. They also say that you have to go to the reality which is above the physical world. Two of the greatest thinkers of India. He gives a very high praise to Shankara. Huh? The philosophy of Mayavada holds India in its grip for centuries with great power. Okay? Other philosophic views did contradict Mayavada, but none of them equal the force and wide influence of Mayavada. Mayavada for centuries and centuries. Get away from the physical world. Don't take birth again. It is a field of suffering and pain. Why do you want to come here? And falsehood. So get away. Then Sri Aurobindo says, we must therefore examine this world negative views and see what its truth is, if any, and place it in comparison with our own view. Our own view, the integral view. In my view, is there any reality which is unreality corresponding to these world negative philosophies? That's what we will see. That's what he said in the whole paragraph. Okay. So now we can read each sentence and see what he is saying. Because the language is very interesting and we must see the language also, right? At a certain point of this constant unrest and travail, is it not true that even animals at the physical level have unrest and struggle? Travail means struggle, hard work. Even the physical mind loses its conviction of absolute certitude. Sometimes you can wonder, even human beings wonder, did my dream was it real or was it unreal? In fact, it goes to such an extent that even when you have a spiritual experience, you doubt whether it's your imagination or not. The letters to Sri Aurobindo, 4 volumes of letters to Sri Aurobindo, full of questions. I had this experience, but was it my imagination? So there is a doubt even there, okay, for spiritual experience. The physical mind loses its conviction of objective certitude and enters into an agnosticism which questions all its own standards. Its own standards you start questioning. In fact, that is what even there's a hint of that also in the theory of relativity. What you are seeing is subject to the frame in which you are living. You will see things in a different way. So if you see things in the same thing in different ways, then where is the certitude and where is the reality? A reality can't be seen in 3, 4 different ways. So there is a unreality also there, even scientifically. And agnosticism. Agnosticism means Gnostic is knowledge. Agnostic is you cannot have knowledge. But there also it can have several meanings. Agnosticism means you can also doubt. But agnosticism usually means the non-belief in God. There is no God. Which questions all its own standards of life and knowledge. Doubts whether all this is real or else whether all, even if real, is not futile. This is also the existentialism. What is the purpose of life? It's not unreal. Physical world is real, but there is no purpose to it. Okay? The idea of evolution, when it comes in, and that evolution is going towards a goal, is not so clearly defined in science and materialism. The vital mind, baffled by life and frustrated, or else dissatisfied with all its satisfactions. Oh, look at that. He's saying even if you have satisfaction, you are dissatisfied. Why? Because it's giving you only a temporary satisfaction. Look at Srinath's language, very interesting. Baffled by life and frustrated. In other words, you don't succeed. Or else dissatisfied with all its satisfaction. Even if there is a satisfaction, it's temporary and you want a permanent satisfaction, you don't get it. Okay? Or else dissatisfied with all its satisfaction. Overtaken by deep disgust and disappointment, finds that all is vanity and vexation of spirit, and is ready to reject life and existence as an unreality. All that is hunted after as an illusion, Maya. So this is the ascetic who finds that it's impossible to have success in the physical world and he withdraws from it. It's all Maya. And when you go to the self, it is confirmed that all this is Maya. 90% of the time it is confirmed. But as you remember, if you go to the self, you can experience the physical world as unreal, but you can also have a cosmic consciousness. And you don't see the physical world as unreal. But that is not so common. 90% of the time, I'm using 90% is relative, but 90% of the time you see the physical world as unreal. Even Srinath went through that experience. The thinking mind, now here thinking mind, not the vital mind and not the physical mind and the vital mind. So you must give full value to the adjective thinking mind. There is the physical mind, the vital mind. We have discussed those two. Now he is thinking of the thinking mind, the pure mind. Okay? And the pure mind can extend even into the spiritual planes of consciousness. Remember that. Okay? Higher mind, element mind, intuitive mind, overmind is all mind only. Okay? It is a range of mind. All that is hunted after as an illusion, Maya. The thinking mind, unbuilding all its affirmations, discovers that all are mere mental constructions and there is no reality in them. Or else that the only reality is something beyond this existence. The level 1, the physical world, is not real. It is something only, it may be a representation. But the real, only reality is above the physical world. Something that has not been made or constructed. Now don't note that. Everything in the physical world is made and constructed. There is something which is never made or not constructed because it is permanent. That's it. In the higher planes of consciousness, that's what you see. That your soul has always existed and will always exist. And that is the sense of immortality. You realize that you are immortal. Okay? because you are not made or constructed. In the physical world, everything is created, made or constructed, and therefore it gets unmade and unconstructed also. It disappears. There is creation and there is destruction in the physical world, but not in the spiritual world. There you see that everything is immutable, permanent. Okay, so you get the idea of the immortal. Something absolute and eternal, no change, and which is absolutely real. All that is relative. All that is of time and is a dream of time. In the physical world, you have time and space. In the spiritual planes of consciousness, even in the higher mind, there is no time. Remember, it's static, no time. Immutable, when you say, it implies no time. All that is relative, all that is of time is a dream, a hallucination of the mind, or a vast delirium. Okay? So he is saying two things. He is saying hallucination of the mind or a vast delirium, an immense cosmic illusion, a delusive figure of apparent existence. It seems to be true, but it is not true. Just like the mirage, if you want, in the desert. Okay. So, actually, it is very interesting, even on very hot days, even in cities, if you notice that on very hot days, when the road is tarred or even concrete, on the road there are waves like that. No? And you see the heat waves, and you feel this water flowing. It becomes even more real in the desert. And not only water flowing, but sometimes you see also the heat waves going up, and then you think them to be trees. So it is something very, very convincing in the desert. So, but finally you realize that it's all a delusive figure of apparent existence. The principle of negation prevails over the principle of affirmation. So when you are in the self, this can happen to you. The principle of negation, the world is unreal, nothing is real. Only the higher levels of consciousness are real, and the rest all created is unreal. The principle of negation prevails over the principle of affirmation and becomes universal and absolute. Thence arise the great world negative religions. As we said, Buddhism, Mayavada, Jainism, okay, maybe there are others also, and thence too a recoil of the life motive from itself and a seeking after a life elsewhere, flawless and eternal, or a will to annul life with this, will to annul life itself in an immobile reality. Note the word immobile. When you go up, immutable. He is using the word immobile. No time there. Reality or an original non-existence. Aha. Why is he saying that? Because the Buddhists are saying it ends in non-existence. And the Advaitin is saying it is not non-existence, it is a apparent non-existence because it is featureless. Okay? It's an absolute reality, and you can interpret that in two ways. That which has no features, you can say is absolute unreality, or you can also think that no, it seems to be unreal, but it's got the potential for everything. So that's what he's saying in this immobile reality, the Advaitic philosophy. Original non-existence, the Buddhistic philosophy. In India, the philosophy of world negation has been given formulations of great, supreme power. Okay? For long centuries, we have had this feeling that the world is unreal and birth is a disease. You must escape from samsara. You see, it has been ringing down the ages. Buddha and Shankara. There have been intermediate or later in time other philosophies of considerable importance, some of them widely accepted, formulated with much acumen of thought by men of genius and spiritual insight, which disputed with more or less force and success the conclusions of these two great metaphysical systems. But none has been put forward with an equal force of presentation or drive of personality, or had a similar massive effect. So what are the philosophies he is referring to? Let's have a look. There have been, I'm reading the sentence again. There have been intermediate or later in time. So later in time we can concentrate. Intermediate, I'm not sure of what he is referring to. But later in time, for instance, oh, intermediate would be the Gita also. Yeah, the Gita doesn't say that the physical world is unreal. Neither the Upanishads. Okay, they also don't say that. But later in time, very clearly, Ramakrishna's philosophy also, the world is not unreal. It's only in motion. Ramakrishna's image is very, very clear. He says, when the sea of substance is static, it is spirit. And when the sea of substance is in motion, the waves are there, that becomes the physical world. The only difference is static and dynamic, static and movement. So, it is not unreal, but it's in motion. That's it he is referring to. What about Vivekananda also? Okay, so philosophies of considerable importance, some of them widely accepted. Obviously, the Gita is widely accepted. Formulated with much acumen of thought by men of genius and spiritual insight. Spiritual insight, you can definitely say Ramakrishna, and men of genius, you can also class Vivekananda in that, okay, which disputed with more or less force and success the conclusions of these two great metaphysical systems. But none has been put forward with an equal force of presentation or drive of personality, or had such similar massive effect, because the Buddhistic ideas dominated India for 2500 years, and Shankara also added to that, although he was misinterpreted. He used the word Maya, and that's why the misinterpretation. Shankara is not a Mayavadi. Okay, in him, Maya, in his philosophy, is the power of making forms. Sri also says that his philosophy is so complex, it has been misunderstood. He says that later on in London. The spirit of these two remarkable spiritual philosophies, for Shankara, in the historical process of India's philosophical mind, takes up, completes, and replaces Buddha. Buddha was 500 BC, okay, and 800 AD, after Christ, was Shankara. Okay? And they have dominated the Indian scene with such power and such presence. Shankara, three times, he went up and down. He was from Kerala, that means almost the tip of the Indian peninsula. From there, he walked right up to Kashmir, Kanyakumari to Kashmir. Dik Vijay, they call it, and on foot. And he established all these matters all over. Okay? The spirit of these two remarkable spiritual philosophies, for Shankara in the historical process of India's philosophical mind, takes up, completes, and replaces Buddha, has weighed with a tremendous power on her thought. Note the words, with tremendous power on her thought, religion, and general mentality. Everywhere broods its mighty shadow. Any Indian philosophy, if you discuss, you can't escape mention of Shankara. You have to mention Shankara. He's like a giant, okay, occupying the stage fully. Everywhere broods its mighty shadow. Everywhere is the impress of the three great formulas: the chain of karma, escape from the wheel of rebirth, and Maya. So, karma is there, also the concept is there in Buddhism also, and escape from the wheel of rebirth. It's a disease to be born into the physical world. Get away from it. And Maya, the world is unreal. It is necessary, therefore, to look afresh at the idea or truth. Look at that. Idea or truth. The idea need not be necessarily, it's a mental construction. Or is it an objective truth behind the negation of cosmic existence, and to consider, however briefly, what is the value of its main formulations or suggestions, on what reality they stand, how far they are imperative to the reason or to experience. For reason corresponds to idea and experience corresponds to truth. See, the web of his prose is so complex and interwoven. He's mentioning idea and truth, and again he is repeating the same thing in different words. Reason corresponds to idea, and experience corresponds to Maya. Sorry, to truth. Idea and truth, reason and experience. For this, for the present, it will be enough to throw a regard on the principal ideas which are grouped around the conception of the great cosmic illusion Maya, and to set against them those that are proper to our own line of thought. Again, Swami is in the word our. He means my own line of thought, he means. But it's a royal we again. Thought and vision. For both proceed from the conception of the one reality. That's the funny part. Both are saying there is a reality, but the world is unreal. But Swami is saying the world also is real, okay, in time and space. The other is real in outside time and space, and this is real in time and space, only different conditions. That doesn't make it unreal. But one line leads to a universal illusionism and the other to a universal realism. The Mayavad philosophy, there is a reality which is up there, and there is an unreality which is down here. And the other one, yes, there is a reality up there, we agree, but there is also a reality, a relative reality down in the physical world. Don't interpret it absolutely as an unreal reality. It is a reality in time and space. An unreal or real unreal universe. Look at that. So, a real unreal, because in the physical world itself, there are things which are seeming to be real, but they seem to be unreal. And when they are unreal, they are actually real. Let's give examples of that. Universe reposing on a transcendent reality, or a real universe reposing on a reality at once universal and transcendent or absolute. So, real, unreal, we have got many examples in the world. A shadow can be real when the light is there, but when the light is not there, it becomes unreal, it disappears. So it is real, unreal, half real. Srivastava in other places uses the word half real universe, reposing on a transcendent reality. Okay? The universe is dependent on the transcendent reality, or a real universe reposing on a reality at once universal and transcendental naturally. So the two philosophies, the negative philosophy is there is a transcendent reality and the physical world is unreal, but it depends upon the real. And the other one, Srivastava's affirmative philosophy, there is a transcendent reality above, and below also there is a real universe, but it depends upon the higher reality. So there is a gradation. Both are real, but the lower reality is dependent on the higher. It has no original existence by itself. It is not an independent existence. So he has already qualified his own philosophy. The world is real, but it depends upon the higher reality. Okay? Very clear? He has given you the two philosophies which are to be looked at. So he will start looking at the Mayavada philosophy, and he will say so many different types of there. He will discuss all the issues. Right? So what's the time? 8:25. We have got 10 minutes more. Maybe we can read the next para also. But the summary of this already we have read before. Okay. So he says that we will start examining the idea of reality and unreality. It's a very interesting chapter, but not very easy also, because Shankara's images are 6. Okay. The first image is dream. When you are dreaming, you think it is real. When you wake, you feel that, oh, it has disappeared. It was only a dream, not real. This is number 1. So the examines this in great detail. Then the second image is the mirage in the forest. In the desert. Okay. You feel that there is water, there's an oasis, but there is actually nothing there. It's a uh, imagination. Then the most famous one of Shankara's is the serpent and the rope. You are going at night and your leg hits you think it's a serpent. And in the night you think it's a serpent, you get frightened also. And then in the daytime you see it's only a rope. Okay? This is another image of Shankara. And the next image is the seashell on the seashore. It's got a silver effect on the shell. You feel it is silver. Actually, it's not silver at all. And the last one is that the moon is one, but in troubled waters you see several moons. The one is the reality, but the many are unreal. That's only an illusion. So these are the images that Sri takes up one by one and examines in great detail. It's a very interesting discussion, but not very easy to understand. We'll have to take time over it. Okay? Let's read the next one. In itself and by itself.
Should I read?
Yes, do that.
Excuse me, what did you say the fifth one was? What is one?
Oh, the moon.
Oh, the moon is one.
Yes, and its reflections in troubled waters are many.
Okay.
You see many in troubled water. But when the water is cool and calm and quiet, you see there is one moon only. You don't see the many. Okay, so that's the self. Experience of the self. Okay?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Let's read the next one.
In itself and by itself, the vital beings of virgin, the life minds recoil from life cannot be taken as valid or conclusive. Its strongest motive is a sense of disappointment and an acceptance of frustration, which has no greater claim to conclusiveness than the idealist's opposite motive of invariable hope and his faith and will to realize. Nevertheless, there is a certain validity in the mental support of this sense of frustration, in the perception at which the thinking mind arrives that there is an illusion behind all human effort and terrestrial endeavor, the illusion of his political and social gospels, the illusion of his ethical efforts at perfection, the illusion of philanthropy and service, the illusion of works, the illusion of fame, power, success, the illusion of all achievement. Human social and political endeavor turns always in a circle and leads nowhere. Man's life and nature remain always the same, always imperfect, and neither laws nor institutions nor education nor philosophy nor morality nor religious teachings have succeeded in producing the perfect man, still less a perfect humanity. Straighten the tail of the dog as you will, it has been said, it always resumes its natural curve of crookedness. Altruism, philanthropy, and service, Christian love or Buddhist compassion has not made the world a whit happier. They only give infinitesimal bits of momentary relief here and there, throw drops on the fire of the world's suffering. All aims are, in the end, transitory and futile, all achievements unsatisfying or evanescent. All works are so much labor of effort and success and failure, which consummate nothing definitive. Whatever changes are made in human life are of the form only, and these forms pursue each other in a futile circle. For the essence of life, its general character remains the same forever. This view of things may be exaggerated, but it has an undeniable force. It is supported by the experience of man's centuries, and it carries in itself a significance which at one time or another comes upon the mind with an overwhelming air of self-evidence. Not only so, but if it is true that the fundamental laws and values of terrestrial existence are fixed, or that it must always turn in repeated cycles, and this has been for long a very prevalent notion, then this view of things in the end is hardly escapable. For, for, for imperfection, ignorance, frustration, and suffering are a dominant factor of the existing world order. The elements contrary to them, knowledge, happiness, success, perfection, are constantly found to be deceptive or inconclusive. The two opposites are so inextricably mixed that if this state of things is not a motion toward a greater fulfillment, if this is the permanent character of the world order, then it is hard to avoid the conclusion that all here is either the creation of an inconscient energy, which would account for the incapacity of an apparent consciousness to arrive at anything, or intentionally a world of ordeal and failure. The issue being not here but elsewhere, or even a vast and aimless cosmic illusion.
Even a vast and aimless cosmic illusion. It's a big para, and we will take it up next time because we have only 3 minutes left. But basically, what he's saying is, it is very understandable why the ascetic is rejecting the physical world as something impossible to deal with. He's saying it can be understood. It's not absolutely true, but yet it's largely true that the physical world is imperfect, and it does seem that all the imperfection, all the falsehood, all the vanity and uselessness is permanent. It seems to be like that. That's what he's saying. Although it is not really true, but it does seem to be like that, and I can very well understand and sympathize with the ascetic who rejects the physical world. That's what he's saying in the para. Okay, so I can do one thing. Maybe we have got 3 minutes, so I can quickly read the sometimes we have difficulty. I'm not being able to open it. Let me see. Okay. Open pop-up. I've got it. Yeah, it has come. Yeah. So, Srila is saying here, the physical mind tires of life. This one second. Yeah. The physical mind tires of life and doubts the significance of life at some point. This is a very, very common thing, whether it be in athletics or whether it be in music or whether it be in any field. We try so hard, but we don't get success. This success is very rare. It does come, but very rare. And even when success comes, you are dissatisfied because you want more and more. So that's what Srila is saying here. The physical mind tires of life, becomes tired of life, and doubts the significance of life at some point. What about the vital dissatisfaction with life's failures and disappointments? Its reactions of frustration and rejection of life need not be taken as valid. Although it seems to be very, very valid, it need not be taken as valid. It is as valid as the optimist's eternal hope and will to succeed. But when the mind supports and justifies the vital reactions of vairagya, there is some truth to it. All human effort seems to end in failure or only a minute effectiveness. Success is rare. All ethical, all philanthropy, okay, all have never achieved complete success. Okay, even Mother Teresa, okay, she is taking people from the streets and giving them food and lodging. But has she solved the problem of poverty and misery and disease? No. So even your success is a failure. That's what Srila is saying. Even the Christian love and Buddhistic compassion have only been drops on the fire of world suffering. It's a very interesting phrase he's using. Even if somewhat exaggerated, there is some truth in this view. And if there is only fixity of law and a permanence of imperfection here in the world, then this sense of hope has to be abandoned. The world would be a field of illusion and aimlessness. This is what he said in the para. We'll take it up next time in detail. Because his language we have to understand. And he's saying, in short, he's saying that it is quite understandable why the ascetic rejects the physical world. Largely it is to 90%, there is frustration and there is suffering which does not seem to disappear at all. That's what he's saying. So we stop here today and next time. Sunki, note down that we have to redo this paragraph. Page
Yes.
433 in itself and by itself.
Merci beaucoup.
Okay, au revoir everybody. Have
Thank
a
you,
nice
Ranga.
Okay.
Au revoir.
Au revoir. Have a nice day.
Au revoir.